My oncologist sat me down and he said, okay, we're going to talk about, what's going to happen, what's this going to do to your body, and, how you're going to handle that. It's okay. He said, one of the first questions he asked was, do you plan on having children in the next 3 years? I was like, no, obviously. He's like, all right, well, because of the area we're targeting, because of what this is going to do to your body, like, you're probably not going to be able to have children for the next 3 years. I just sat there for a second and kind of absorbed that. I was like, can I ask one question? He's like, yeah, of course. I was like, can you make it 5 years? He was like, I don't think you understand how medicine works. I was like, I don't think you understand how medicine works.
So how did you find out you had cancer?
I was diagnosed with testicular cancer in January of this year. So I had sustained an injury below the belt a few weeks prior and just kind of ignored it. Thought that it would get better. It is very strange because I did look on WebMD, and one of the things they were like, oh, you might have cancer. And like, obviously, I was like, well, it's WebMD, so it's always going to scare you. There's no way that's possible. And I went in to a doctor because it wasn't getting any better. And that was on a Sunday. I went into an urgent care, and they were like, yeah, we got to get you in to like see someone. And I went in on a Monday, missed all my classes. It was a 7 a.m. appointment, and he was like, oh, this is not good. We got to get you an ultrasound. So I ended up in a room with, about 8 or 9 pregnant women, and then me in line to get an ultrasound in intense pain, mind you, just down the line. And it was just a surreal experience. But I eventually did get an ultrasound, and they said, well, you gotta have surgery. And it just continued to be a wild ride until eventually they operated on me that day, and they ended up removing a tumor. Now, that was on a Monday, and I didn't find out it was a tumor, that I did have cancer, until that Friday. And it was then that they kind of sat me down and they said, yeah, here's what we did, here's what happened. But they kind of like danced around the C word until eventually I just stopped and I was like, okay, so level with me here. So I have cancer. Then eventually they're like, yes. And that's kind of when, the thoughts started going off in your head, and it clicks and it clicks and it clicks. You're like, oh my God, what is happening in my life? I'd start chemo at 7 in the morning, so I'd get up at 6, would never eat anything, terrible decision, never eat anything before chemo. I'd get up, I'd roll in there, they'd take my vitals, and then they'd plug me in at 7 o'clock or right around then. And it was about a 4-5 hour process, depending on the day, depending on how I was doing, how I was responding. And then I would go home and around noon, around 11, and I'd just go back to bed because my body was so tired. There's no other way to talk about chemotherapy, and that it really just kicks your ass. It's a very odd experience to just sit down, and they obviously bend over backwards to make you very comfortable, but you sit down in a chair and they poke you with a needle and they pump literal poison into your body. And I was never ready for every new factor or new side effect that happened. It was just, it was kind of a roll with the punches kind of thing. I would have gone crazy if I had not stayed in school. I needed something because I just didn't have the energy to do a lot. So to be able to stay in school was more of a blessing than anything, because I could take this energy and I could pour it into something, and that's really what I needed to do. And I ended up with the best GPA I've ever had during a semester was that last one. People would always come up to me, or people who I would talk to about it, it's like, you're so brave, you're so strong. And I was, no, I'm not. What are you talking about? I'm just literally not dead. I just literally haven't died. Like, even if I was dead, they'd be like, oh, he was so brave. And it's like, no, I'm not. I wake up, I go have poison plugged into me, and then I go back to bed. Like, I'll probably plug in like 4 or 5 episodes of The West Wing, I'll do an assignment, and I'll go to sleep. I was like, there's nothing brave about that. The moments that meant the most are when someone reaches out to you who says, I just want to talk about life. I don't want to talk about like what I can do. I don't want to talk about trying to fix your problems, because that took the relationship from I'm calling you to talk about cancer to I'm a friend calling a friend and we're going to talk about things. And that takes me out of that world for a little bit. There's a lot of, baggage that comes with being done, because, as doctors will tell you, it's never really gone. There's always that, tiny part of the pie chart that says, well, this could happen again. And that's scary. I had to look at, the positives of what treatment brought me was, there were so many of my friends who I can look back on and say, I can't believe they did that. I can't believe the conversations that they had to have. I can't believe how hard it must be to sit there and want to do something and want to do something and want to do something and can't. So I look at those friendships, and the same goes for my family. To have the blessing of seeing those relationships, to see things like that grow within my family is something truly special. You look at the common cliche is that life is a roller coaster. And indeed it is, and I think the part that people ignore from that phrase is that, no, you really don't control, the ups and downs of a roller coaster. You do control one thing, and that's, the people that you surround yourself with. And, in my case, I was really fortunate to have the people around me that I did. My name is Kristian Evans. I'm a junior at Augsburg University, communication major with a minor in political science, and I have received the all clear to be cancer-free for the past 5 months now.
Congratulations.
Okay, I have several thoughts for the title. I put the can in cancer. You can't spell cancer without can. Cancer with a K, because my name is spelled with a K. Ball out, or any iteration of ballers. Spitballing. I'm just spitballing here.